The sun was just beginning to rise over the Turtle Mountain, casting a golden glow across the rolling hills and thick forests that surrounded the small community. The children of the Turtle Mountain tribe were already on their way to school, their laughter and chatter echoing through the crisp morning air. Among them, but apart from them, walked Iktomi. He was unlike the other children. His dark, shifting eyes held secrets, and his long, slender fingers were quick to weave tricks out of thin air. Today, though, Iktomi wasn't planning any tricks, at least not yet. Today, he was going to school. As he approached the schoolhouse, Iktomi couldn't help but notice the curious glances the other children gave him. They whispered to one another, wondering who this newcomer was, with his strange, almost otherworldly presence. Iktomi smiled to himself, feeling a surge of confidence. He wanted to belong here. The schoolhouse was a modest building, built with care by the tribe. The teacher, an elder named Makwa, stood at the door, welcoming the children as they entered. His eyes, though old and wise, were sharp and penetrating. When Iktomi reached the door, Makwa paused, his gaze lingering on the boy before him. "You are new here," Makwa said, his voice a deep rumble that seemed to resonate with the earth itself. Iktomi nodded. "Yes, I have come to learn, just like the others." Makwa studied him for a long moment. "Learning is more than just books and lessons, young one. It is about understanding who you are and where you come from." Iktomi nodded again, pushing aside his unease. He was Iktomi, the trickster, and if anyone could find a way to fit in, it was him. Inside the classroom, the children took their seats. Iktomi chose a spot near the back, where he could observe without being too noticed. The walls were lined with drawings and symbols that spoke of the tribe's history and culture. As the day's lessons began, Iktomi found himself fidgeting. The other children were focused, listening intently to Makwa. Iktomi's mind, however, was elsewhere. He was already thinking of ways to impress the others, to show them that he was just as clever. When the lesson turned to a story about the origins of the tribe, Iktomi saw his chance. He raised his hand. "I know a story too," he said, his voice carrying a hint of mischief. "A story about a clever spider who outwitted a whole village." Makwa nodded. Iktomi stood up, his confidence growing as he began to weave his tale, full of twists and turns, of tricks and deceit. The other children leaned forward, captivated by the way Iktomi spun his words, making the spider seem like a hero. But as Iktomi reached the climax of his story, something unexpected happened. One of the children, a quiet girl named Awan, spoke up. "But what about the people the spider tricked? Weren't they hurt by his lies?" Iktomi faltered, caught off guard. He had never considered the consequences for those who were fooled. Makwa nodded at Awan's words. "A true story is not just about the cleverness of the teller, but about the truth it reveals. Remember that, Iktomi." Iktomi sat down, his mind whirling. He had come here to be a part of the tribe, to learn their ways. As the lesson continued, Iktomi listened more closely, no longer thinking about his next trick. For the first time, he began to wonder if there was more to being clever than just getting what he wanted. Perhaps there was something more valuable, something he had yet to discover.